Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going on a journey, but not to a place. We're going through a process. We're going to decode the rulebook of Yemen's civil court system together. I mean, really, what happens? Not the TV drama version, but the real thing. How does a disagreement go from being just a problem between two people to a formal case with a judge and a verdict? What are the actual rules of the road? Well, that's exactly what we're about to do. We're going to follow a hypothetical lawsuit step by step from the moment it's born all the way to the final decision. And we're going to use the country's actual law of civil procedure as our map. So, every journey has to start somewhere. And for a lawsuit, that beginning is all about the paperwork. This is the moment your dispute officially gets its own spot on the court's big game board. And according to Article 104, you have to get this first move exactly right. You can't just show up and complain. Nope. You have to file a formal complaint that follows this checklist to the letter. You got to name it everyone involved, say which court you're in, give a summary of what happened in your proof, and list exactly what you want. Sign it, pay the fee, and boom, your lawsuit is officially in play. All right, so you're on the board. The case enters the courtroom. But right away, you can hit a major snack. What happens if you're there, ready to go, but the other person is a total no-show? You know, the system has a very clear playbook for this. A case can't just stop dead in its tracks. Article 116 lays out exactly what happens next to make sure things keep moving forward. The court basically ramps up the pressure. First, they'll try to notify them again. If that doesn't work, things escalate. They can bring in the judicial police and even slap on a fine. And in the most extreme cases, if someone is really dodging the system, the court can just appoint someone else, like a lawyer or even a relative, to stand in for them. The message is loud and clear. This case is happening, with or without you. You can't just ignore your way out of it. So, assuming everyone is now at the table, the court starts to play this really interesting dual role. It's not just a battleground. It's also a place for finding a solution. And it has ways to both encourage people to cooperate and punish them for messing around. And you can see that split personality right here. On one hand, you have Article 165, which is all about cooperation and tells the court to actively push both sides to find common ground and settle. But on the other hand, you've got Article 169, which is the punishment. If you're caught intentionally stalling or wasting time, the court can hit you with fines. It's a real classic carrot and stick approach to keep the game moving. Now let's talk about a really high-stakes move in this game. What if you start to believe the judge, the actual referee of your case, is biased against you? Well, the law has a way to deal with that, but you have to be fast. It is a race against the clock. And just look at how strict this timeline is. The second you find out about a potential bias, a clock starts ticking. You've only got 3 days to file your request. From there, it's a whirlwind. The judge responds, and a final decision, one you can't appeal, by the way, is made in about a month. This speed is totally intentional. It's designed to stop people from using this as a trick just to delay the case. But here's the kicker. Buried in Article 141 is this really crucial detail. Even when their impartiality is being challenged, the judge is protected. They have to give a written response, sure, but they can't be cross-examined or put under oath. It's this fascinating balancing act, a way to hold judges accountable, but without completely undermining their authority. Okay, so the trial's over, the arguments have been made, the judge makes a ruling, the gavel falls. But is that really the end of the line? Not always. Let's dig into the rules for appeals. According to Article 86, the ability to appeal isn't a given. It all comes down to the money involved. The law sets these very specific financial cutoffs. So for a relatively small civil case, say under 200,000 rials, that first verdict is the final word. End of story. It's a practical rule, really, meant to keep the higher courts from getting completely swamped with appeals over smaller amounts. But if your case does clear that financial hurdle, filing an appeal is a huge deal. It has a massive and immediate effect. Article 283 bis says that the second you file that appeal, the original ruling is put on ice. It can't be enforced. It's like hitting a giant pause button on everything while the higher court takes a fresh look. All through this journey, we've seen all these rules and procedures, but how does the system actually make sure people follow them? Well, a lot of the time, the answer is simple: money. The system has some serious financial teeth, and those financial teeth are sharpest at the very top. If you try to waste the High Court's time with a bogus claim, it's gonna cost you. Article 58C says that making a baseless challenge against a final judgment can result in a fine of up to $500,000. That's a huge penalty, and that financial risk pops up earlier in the process too. Remember that move to get a judge recused? Well, if your request gets rejected, Article 142 says you could be looking at a fine of up to 50,000 reals. It's a pretty clear signal: don't challenge the ref unless you have a really, really good reason. And it's not just for the big, dramatic moves. The system's financial teeth can bite at the day-to-day level too. Article 162 gives the court the power to fine someone up to 6,000 reals just for causing a procedural delay. Every little step has a potential price tag to keep things running efficiently. And finally, there's the biggest cost of all. Beyond any specific fine, Article 257 lays out the ultimate rule of the game: the loser pays. And we're not just talking about the amount in the judgment. We're talking about covering the winner's expenses, their court fees, what they paid for experts, even their lawyers' bills. Winning isn't just about being right. It's about being made whole again. And for the person who loses, well, it means losing can be incredibly expensive. So after trekking through this whole rulebook, from filing that first form to facing the final bill, it leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? We've seen rules built for speed, like that tight recusal clock, and we've seen rules built for being thorough, like sending a second notice. We see rules that push for peace and rules that punish delays. When you put all these pieces together, what kind of system do you get? Is it one that's designed to be fair, above all else? Or is it built for speed? Or is it trying to strike some kind of delicate, maybe even messy balance between the two? That's something to think about. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.